Ever found yourself at a juncture, clinging to a relationship or friendship simply because it feels safe and known, yet intuitively sensing it prevents you from truly thriving? It's a difficult realization to come to grips with. Sometimes those we've bonded with over laughter, tears, and myriad memories are not destined to accompany us indefinitely. It's quite the stark awakening, isn't it? The age-old philosophy of Stoicism illuminates these contemporary challenges with its deep understanding of human nature and the essence of a fulfilling life, teaching us that personal development sometimes necessitates tough decisions regarding our closest associations. This isn't about severing ties heartlessly, rather, it's about thoughtfully sculpting our personal sphere, selectively nurturing relationships that elevate, inspire, and challenge us to ascend to our greatest potential. So, here you stand at that pivotal crossroads, weighed down by a decision that could transform your trajectory. You're not alone. Today, we delve into the core of Stoic thought to identify when it's appropriate to gently part ways with certain people, thus making room for new growth, deeper bonds, and a life that resonates with your highest ideals. Join me on this enlightening path, inspired by the eternal wisdom of Stoicism, ready to embrace the liberation and serenity that comes from making judicious choices about our associations. As we proceed, I encourage you to subscribe, share this video with someone in need of this message, and remember to like and view each segment without skipping. Every second of this discourse might just be the transformative moment you seek. Consider this: if you feel stagnant, as though you're not advancing because someone close isn't supportive or perhaps even obstructive, that's a critical signal. Reflect on it. Seneca championed the virtues of personal advancement and self-improvement, advocating for a life of continuous evolution and boundary pushing. If you're entangled in a relationship, whether with a friend, family member, or partner, that stifles your growth, Seneca would likely see this as an unmistakable red flag not to be overlooked. Not all relationships must push you to extremes, but those who truly care about you should desire your success. They ought to be your advocates and your support network, not anchors that drag you into a sea of what ifs and if onlys. It's valuable to take a moment for introspection. Why do you cling to this relationship? Is it habit, fear, or misplaced loyalty? These are tough but essential inquiries, because genuine connections, those truly worth your time and emotional investment, should make you feel capable of more today than you were yesterday. Stoicism underscores the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who positively impact our lives. It's less about accumulating friends or popularity and more about curating a circle that enriches your existence, fosters your growth, and harmonizes with your values. If you find yourself mired in a relationship that feels more akin to quicksand than a launch pad, it might be time to reassess its role in your life. Remember, desiring growth isn't selfish, it's human. And sometimes, growth means releasing those who hinder us, not out of bitterness, but with gratitude for the lessons learned and the strength acquired from knowing when to part ways. Reflect on your relationships. Are they bridges to your best self or barriers to your growth? Recall that the journey of self-improvement is never solitary. We require the right companions to truly make the journey meaningful. Occasionally, we all experience being engulfed in a vortex of negative emotions within a relationship. Ever found yourself in a dynamic where drama seems to be the main focus and support is absent? It's draining, isn't it? Marcus Aurelius offered profound insights on managing our emotions, famously stating that we control our minds, not external events. This principle is revolutionary when applied to relationships plagued by jealousy, anger, or other dominating negative emotions. Consider if your relationship feels more like a battleground than a sanctuary. It's a clear indication that something needs to change. These emotions, while part of the human experience, should not form the foundation or define a lasting relationship. I'm not suggesting we can or should live devoid of anger or jealousy. That would be unrealistic. However, what Marcus Aurelius teaches us is that we hold the steering wheel when it comes to our responses to these emotions. If jealousy emerges because a friend is progressing in life while you feel stuck, or if anger surfaces each time someone undermines you, remember, you control your response. You can choose not to let these emotions govern your relationship. But what does this look like in practice? It begins with awareness. Recognize when you're experiencing these emotions and interrogate their origins. Why do I feel this way? What can I learn from this? How can I respond in a way that aligns with the person I aspire to be? These aren't easy questions, but they are crucial. Sometimes, the healthiest response is to create distance or initiate change. It's not about fleeing from challenges, but acknowledging that if the core of a relationship revolves around pulling each other into negative cycles rather than elevating, it may be time to reassess. This doesn't imply you failed or that the other person is villainous. It's simply recognizing that not every relationship is suited to endure through all seasons of life. The Stoics strongly advocated living in accordance with nature, and sometimes, the natural course of things is to drift apart. If you consistently struggle with negative emotions in any of your relationships, take a moment to reflect on Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Remember, you possess control over your mind, your reactions, the choice to surround yourself with relationships rooted in positive, supportive energies. In such environments, we can truly thrive and find peace. Let's not let drama define our relationships. Instead, let's cultivate connections based on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine support. At the end of the day, these are the relationships that withstand the test of time and bring out the best in us. Next, let's address a challenging but crucial topic: the role of manipulation and control in our relationships. In any kind of relationship, feeling more like a puppet than a partner is a significant red flag. It's about time we discuss autonomy, freedom, and the sage advice of Epictetus, who once stated, "No one is free who is not master of himself." Reflect on this for a moment. True freedom, according to Epictetus, emanates from within, from being in control of our actions, decisions, and ultimately, our lives. So, what does it mean for us when we find ourselves in relationships where we feel we are not the ones making the calls, where our decisions, desires, and even our thoughts seem to be under someone else's control? It's a sign, loud and clear, that something's not right. Manipulation and control can manifest subtly, like constant suggestions that steer you away from your passions, or more overtly, like demands dictating who you should be or what you should do. These are not characteristics of a healthy relationship. True connections, the ones that genuinely deserve our time and emotional investment, are founded on mutual respect and freedom. Stoicism teaches us the importance of autonomy, being the captain of our own ship, so to speak. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your choices or feeling like your wings are clipped, it's worth asking why. Why stay in a dynamic that stifles your freedom and prevents you from being the author of your own life story? Here's the reality: severing ties with someone who is manipulating or controlling isn't about being harsh or unkind. It's about honoring your worth, your autonomy, and your right to lead a life true to yourself. It's about taking Epictetus's wisdom to heart and reclaiming your freedom. The freedom to make your own choices, to grow, to live a life aligned with your values. Yes, making the decision to step away from such relationships can be incredibly tough. It might mean letting go of something familiar or even someone you care deeply about. But remember, Stoicism isn't about taking the easy path, it's about taking the right path. Sometimes, the right path is the one that leads us away from what harms us and towards a more authentic, fulfilling existence. True relationships, the ones that genuinely enrich our lives, are those that respect our individuality and freedom. They encourage us to explore, to question, to grow. They don't try to mold us into something we're not or dictate how we should live our lives. So, if you're feeling like someone's pulling your strings, take a moment to reflect on Epictetus's words. No one is truly free who isn't master of himself. Ask yourself if it's time to cut those strings and embrace the freedom to be authentically you. It's a journey worth taking, a step towards a life where you're in control, surrounded by relationships that uplift and respect your autonomy and freedom. Let's cherish and seek out those connections that empower us, that allow us to be the masters of our own lives. Because at the end of the day, that's what true friendship and love should do: set us free, not hold us back. What happens when a relationship starts to do more harm than good? When the time you spend with someone leaves you feeling more drained than energized, more stressed than supported. It's like you're constantly walking on eggshells, caught up in an endless cycle of arguments, or just feeling down whenever they're around. These are glaring red flags that something is seriously off. Healthy connections, the kind we all deserve and should strive for, are supposed to feel good. They're meant to enrich our lives, bring us joy, and support us through the ups and downs. They're not supposed to complicate our lives with constant stress or make us question our worth. The Stoics were all about living in harmony with nature, including our own nature, and pursuing a life of virtue and tranquility. They believed in the importance of maintaining relationships that are in line with these principles. So, if you find yourself in a relationship that's pulling you away from peace, from being your best self, it's worth considering what the Stoics might advise. They'd likely encourage us to take a step back and examine the situation objectively. Is this relationship contributing to your well-being? Is it helping you grow as a person, or is it a source of constant negativity, draining your energy and leaving you feeling worse for wear? If it's the latter, it might be time to question whether this connection is truly serving your highest good. Remember, Stoicism teaches us the value of self-awareness and the courage to make difficult decisions that align with our well-being and virtues. It's not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about recognizing what's truly beneficial for us in the long run. And sometimes, that means making the tough choice to distance ourselves from relationships that do more harm than good. This isn't to say that every rough patch means a relationship is toxic or should be ended. But if you're consistently feeling worse because of someone's presence in your life, it's a sign that something needs to change. Healthy relationships might have their challenges, but at their core, they're sources of support, love, and mutual growth. So, if you're nodding along, feeling like this resonates with your current situation, take a moment to reflect. Consider what steps you can take to address the issues at hand. Communication is key. Perhaps it's time for an honest, open conversation about how you're feeling. If things don't change, remember, it's okay to prioritize your peace and well-being. The Stoics would remind us that our responsibility to ourselves includes nurturing relationships that are healthy and letting go of those that aren't. Let's commit to seeking out and cultivating connections that feel healthy, that add to our lives rather than complicate them. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve relationships that bring us joy, growth, and tranquility. And remember, it's through facing these challenges, making these tough decisions, that we grow stronger and more aligned with our true selves. That's the Stoic way, embracing what serves us and having the wisdom to let go of what doesn't. Lack of mutual respect is another deal breaker. Without respect, there's no foundation for anything positive. Without respect, what do we really have? It's like trying to build a house on sand. Eventually, everything's just going to collapse. The Stoics, who were pretty big on the whole concept of living a virtuous life, placed a huge emphasis on self-respect and the respect we owe to others. They believed that every individual possesses inherent worth and dignity, and this belief should be reflected in how we treat each other. So, if you find yourself in a relationship where you're not being treated with the dignity you deserve, it's a massive red flag. It's not just about feeling undervalued. It's about recognizing that a fundamental aspect of your humanity is being disregarded. Mutual respect is the bedrock of any healthy connection. It's the foundation upon which trust, love, and genuine understanding are built. If that's missing, then what's left? You're left with a relationship that's hollow, unfulfilling, and frankly, not worth your time and emotional investment. Now, I can almost hear some of you saying, but what if it's not that simple? What if I really care about this person? And that's a fair point. Relationships are complex, and emotions are powerful. But here's where the wisdom of Stoicism can guide us. The Stoics were all about clarity, rationality, and living in alignment with our highest values. They would encourage us to take a step back and assess our relationships through this lens. Are we being true to ourselves by staying in a situation where we're not respected? Are we honoring our inherent worth and the virtues we strive to live by? If the answer is no, then it might be time for a serious reassessment. This doesn't necessarily mean cutting someone out of your life with cold precision. Instead, it's about recognizing your own value and making decisions that reflect that. It might mean setting clearer boundaries, having a heart-to-heart conversation about how you're feeling, or in some cases, acknowledging that it's time to move on. Remember, respecting yourself and insisting on being treated with respect by others is not selfish or demanding. It's a reflection of the self-worth that the Stoics believed each of us should cultivate. It's about living with integrity and ensuring that your relationships reflect the respect and virtue you strive for in your own life. So, if you're dealing with a lack of mutual respect, take a moment to reflect on what that means for you and your well-being. Consider how you can address this issue in a way that honors your dignity and values. Because at the end of the day, every one of us deserves to be in relationships where we're treated with the respect and consideration we'd give in return. Let's strive to cultivate connections that are rooted in mutual respect, where each person is valued and appreciated for who they are. That's the kind of relationship that not only survives but thrives, reflecting the best of what it means to live a life grounded in Stoic wisdom and virtue. Feeling tethered to illusions rather than reality, Stoicism, at its heart, is about acceptance, accepting the reality of our lives, our relationships, and the world around us, not as we wish them to be, but as they truly are. The Stoics, with their pragmatic and grounded approach to life, teach us that there's profound strength and freedom in seeing things clearly, without the rose-colored glasses that illusions often provide. So, what does this mean for our relationships? Well, it means taking a hard, honest look at them and asking ourselves whether they're rooted in reality or if we're holding on to a fantasy. Are we ignoring red flags, glossing over issues, or painting a picture of someone that doesn't quite match up with who they really are? If so, we are not doing ourselves or our partners any favors. Being tethered to illusions in a relationship can feel like being stuck in a mirage. From a distance, everything looks perfect, but as you get closer, you realize it's just an illusion, lacking substance and truth. This isn't to say that hope and aspirations have no place in relationships. They do. But there's a fine line between healthy aspirations and losing ourselves in fantasies that detract from our ability to engage with the genuine nature of our connections. Embracing the truth, as the Stoics would advise, is about confronting these illusions head-on. It's about having the courage to recognize and accept the reality of our relationships, even when it's uncomfortable or painful. This is no easy task. It requires a level of honesty and vulnerability that can be daunting. But there's incredible power in truth. It's the foundation upon which genuine, meaningful relationships are built. The process of embracing reality over illusion can be transformative. It might mean acknowledging that a relationship isn't what you thought it was, or that the person you're with isn't who you hoped they would be. This realization can be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also a crucial step towards genuine growth and emotional freedom. It opens up the space for you to engage in relationships that are authentic, where you can love and be loved for who you truly are, not for the illusions you've constructed. So, if you find yourself feeling tethered to illusions, take a moment to reflect. What aspects of your relationship are real, and what parts have you embellished or imagined? How does this alignment, or lack thereof, with reality affect your happiness and well-being? Remember, Stoicism isn't about pessimism or resigning ourselves to unhappiness. Quite the opposite. It's about finding peace and contentment by aligning ourselves with the truth of how things are. It teaches us that by accepting reality, we can navigate our lives and relationships with wisdom, clarity, and a sense of groundedness that illusions simply cannot provide. Let's challenge ourselves to look at our relationships through the lens of Stoic acceptance. Let's embrace the truth, however hard it may be, and in doing so, open ourselves up to the kind of genuine, fulfilling connections that enrich our lives in meaningful ways. After all, in the clarity of truth, we find the path to real happiness and love. Compromising your values should never be on the table. These are the principles that guide us, the moral compass that directs our decisions, actions, and ultimately, our life's course. Now, here's a question that might hit closer to home than we'd like. What happens when a relationship challenges those very values, when it asks you to compromise on what you hold dear? It's a tough scenario, but it's one that demands our attention. And you guessed it, Stoicism has some invaluable insights on this matter. The Stoics would argue that compromising our core values for the sake of a relationship is a price too high to pay. Why? Because our values are the essence of who we are. They shape our identity, influence our choices, and dictate how we interact with the world around us. To compromise on these is to lose a part of ourselves, and that's a loss no relationship is worth. Being in a relationship that requires you to act in ways that contradict your values may be small things at first, but over time, these compromises start to add up, eroding your sense of self and the principles